Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Captain Lou Extravaganza. We are live here on 12 Ounce Sports and, of course, the Captain Lou Extravaganza or the Captain Lou Sports Network on YouTube. First of all, want to say welcome to everybody that watches us here on 12 Ounce Sports. Want to thank Jeff Beck and all the gang at 12 Ounce Sports for having us back here on the network. I tell you, it's great to be back where we belong on 12 Ounce Sports. We're, as we like to say, we're going to try to finish what we started, and we hope that you enjoy all of our programming here on 12 Ounce Sports that we're going to bring you here through the Captain Lou Sports Network, kind of a joint venture, if you will, but really excited to be back on the network as the Captain Lou Extravaganza every Wednesday night at 7 o'clock Eastern Time. We'll break down everything going on in the world of sports, maybe more of a Michigan twist with our Detroit sports teams and the state of Michigan with college and whatnot. And, of course, anything else that's going on exciting in the world of sports, we want to take this time out to say hello to everybody. And, again, thanks to 12 Ounce Sports for having us back. We're going to finish what we started. That is bringing you great content each and every week here on the Captain Lou Extravaganza. Well, again, we are brought to you, as always, by JaviCoffee.com, too. Go to JaviCoffee.com. If you like instant coffee, but you don't like the mess, this is very, very easy. You don't have to worry about coffee grounds. You take 2 teaspoons of your favorite flavor, either regular, decaf, salted caramel, French vanilla, you name it. JaviCoffee.com, and use the promo code Captain Lou for 15% off your first purchase. That is JaviCoffee.com. Again, you're watching the Captain Lou Extravaganza live. You can follow us on 12 Ounce Sports on all of their media outlets, Twitch, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and, of course, on their YouTube channel. We invite you to subscribe to their YouTube channel. Subscribe to ours as well, Captain Lou Sports Network. You can follow me on Twitter or X at The Real Captain Lou. Or, again, you can subscribe to both networks, as I mentioned, and, of course, follow 12 Ounce Sports on YouTube and also on Instagram and all the social media outlets on Facebook as well. We got a potpourri Wednesday here tonight. We're going to be guest-free tonight, so I'm going to ramble on for a while. We got a lot to talk about. We all know, of course, what is set up. That's the big game in San Francisco and Kansas City. Super Bowl LVIII, or Super Bowl 58 for those of you that don't like the Roman numerals. It's all set. Kind of a bummer for us here in the state of Michigan. Still kind of, the sting is still there from that game on Sunday with the Lions and San Francisco. And I know some Baltimore fans as well. The sting is there with the Ravens kind of, I don't know, laying an egg or a big old goose egg in their game against Kansas City. But the Lions and San Francisco, this one's going to hurt for a while. We all know what happened. Detroit jumped out to that big lead, 24-7 at halftime, and things looked pretty good. It was funny because it was 21-7, and we wondered if Dan Campbell was going to try to go for it on fourth down. He elected to kick the field goal and go up 3 scores. So second half, we all know how it started. San Francisco got the ball. They went down. The Lions' defense bent, but they didn't break. They gave up the field goal, and it looked like Detroit still had the momentum going all the way down the field, but then it came down to 4th down and 2. Dan Campbell decided to go against the grain, as he's done pretty much his whole coaching career, and went for it on 4th and 2. And, of course, he didn't make it. Josh Reynolds dropped the pass. And, of course, now everybody is on Dan Campbell's case. They're calling him a buffoon. They're calling him, an idiot, whatever you want to call him. I'm going to stick by what I said on Facebook right after the game on Sunday night. I'm not going to use Dan Campbell as a scapegoat. I've thought a lot about this. I've thought, should he have kicked the field goal? Maybe the second one. Now, I've heard a lot of arguments back and forth on this one. The Lions, though, if they make that 4th down play, 4th and 2, and they've got it with 6:58 to go, they go down and score, then Dan Campbell's a genius. They're back up 3 scores with a touchdown, probably about 3 minutes to go, game's over. Even if they go down and get a 4th and 10, maybe on the 8-yard line or whatever, kick the field goal there, waste 2 to 3 more minutes, 3 scores. So he's a genius if he does it and they make it. Now he's an idiot, or he's the GOAT if he doesn't. I'm not placing the blame on Dan Campbell on that one. In the 4th quarter, with a chance to tie it up, There's a great argument to be made for that one. It was 4th down and 3.5, I believe. But I got to tell you, where was the defense against San Francisco in the second half? That's the question that I think needs to be answered. San Francisco made the adjustments. I loved how they came out in the second half, up-tempo, a sense of urgency. Detroit didn't have that. Well, when they had their first possession, they really didn't need it because they were moving the ball. But what all of a sudden took them out of their game plan? San Francisco, they felt the sense of urgency. They had the hurry-up offense. Deebo Samuel, you could tell how much it meant to him. Not that it didn't mean anything to the Lions. Obviously, it did. But you could tell by the sense of urgency that the San Francisco 49ers had it. And Detroit did. And when Detroit missed that 4th down play, San Francisco got it back. And we all know they had the fluke catch. Kind of reminded me of that Super Bowl with the Giants and the Patriots. The year the Patriots went 18-0 and lost in the Super Bowl. When David Tyree made that lucky catch on that long bomb, by Eli Manning. And, of course, Brock Purdy threw that Hail Mary pass, bounced off the defender's helmet right in the hands of Brandon Ayuk. But other than that, Detroit still did not stop San Francisco. I'll give Aaron Glenn credit. He pressured Brock Purdy, but we couldn't tackle. Am I the only one that thinks, okay, that's been something that's been happening all year? Look at what Derek Barnes did against Dallas. He went for the blitz and went right past him. Now, Brock Purdy, you got to give him credit. But the defensive game plan by Detroit in the second half obviously didn't work. So I'm not putting all the blame on Dan Campbell. And I said it from the get-go. I'm still not going to. I don't question his first 4th down play. The second one, I can see the argument why he should have kicked that field goal to tie the game. Now, I know Badgley was 9 out of 20 on field goal attempts of 45 and over, 9 out of his last 20, so I get it. And I'm not an analytics kind of guy. And I know Dan Campbell, deep down, he isn't. He's a gambler. He went on his gut instinct. That's the aggressive nature that he's had. And I know it was a big game to go to the Super Bowl, and everybody's saying this wasn't week 4 against the Chicago Bears or whatever. I get that. But Dan Campbell's not going to change now. He's going to ride that horse. And I got to tell you, if you think he's going to change next year, you're crazy. He's going to keep them going. I would be highly shocked if he would do it different in that situation. Maybe he would. I don't think he would. But you know what? That's Dan Campbell. And he's always going to be that way, right or wrong. But I'll tell you, he was a genius. Everybody loved him going into this game when he was going for it on 4th down and didn't make it, or when he made it, and he made it the majority of the times. That's his style. Everybody's second-guessing him. Everybody is. I'm standing behind him. I'm standing behind him. I do not argue with that call whatsoever. Stick with it. Right now it looks like they could have. And here's the thing that what really gets me, okay? Let's say he kicks the field goals, all right? Detroit didn't stop San Francisco the whole time, the whole second half. Who's to say they would have stopped him? Okay, it's 27-10. San Francisco may have went down to score again. They would have changed their game plan. So ifs and buts are candy and nuts. Woulda, coulda, shoulda. I get it. But nothing in that second half proved to me that Detroit would have stopped San Francisco. So there you go. And then the other thing, what about in that last drive when Detroit was down and they were moving the ball? Okay, what was Ben Johnson thinking running it on 3rd and goal, wasting a timeout? That one that shocks the hell out of me. And people are saying maybe they should have kicked the field goal. And then, no. They went down and moved the ball. They should have threw it on 3rd down and goal. They would, even if it was incomplete, they saved the timeout. They score on 4th down. They stopped San Francisco. They wouldn't have had to probably kick the onside kick. And they would have had the ball with an opportunity to go down and kick a field goal. They would have, with probably 40 seconds left. So that's Dan Campbell's fault? I don't think so. That was Ben Johnson. It was such a culmination of things that just, happened throughout that second half. Jahmyr Gibbs fumble, right? That fluke pass catch. And then you got on the defensive side of the ball for Detroit. You've got, not wrapping up on the blitzes. What about when Deebo Samuel catches those swing passes? Not wrapping him up in the open field. Cam Sutton, he couldn't tackle anything. And of course, Detroit's drop passes. All of a sudden, Josh Reynolds and Amon-Ra St. Brown get alligator arms. And what about on that flea flicker when Jamo went right through his arms in the end zone? These drop passes that Detroit didn't have all year. And it all happened. It was the perfect storm. But of course, that's all Dan Campbell's fault too, right? He's going to be vilified for the drop passes, for not tackling on defense. That's the stuff that bothers me. And yeah, I'm going to defend him. He's brought a winning culture to Detroit. And he's right. Maybe they may not get back there next year. The schedule's going to be difficult. But keep this in mind with Detroit's schedule. They've only got 2 road games next year outdoors. Green Bay and Chicago. Everything else is indoors on the road. That may not sound like a lot to you, but, hey, if Detroit can go on a roll, they're going to be back next year. No doubt about it. And I just, yeah, it's heartbreaking. It's tough. But I got to tell you something. You might think I'm crazy, but I would rather take a heartbreaking loss in the NFC Championship game 30 minutes away from going to the Super Bowl than sitting here thinking, what would it be like to get to the playoffs? What would it be like to host a playoff game? Detroit hasn't done that in 30-some years, hosting a playoff game. It doesn't excuse losing, but I'm telling you, it feels a hell of a lot better being down, knowing we were this close to going to the Super Bowl, than not even having a sniff or being relevant. To me, that's more than a small consolation. I would rather take a Detroit Lions loss in an NFC Championship game and being upset about it for a while than being 4-13 or 3-14 with no hope in sight of sniffing a playoff game, hosting a playoff game, or being in the conversation for a Super Bowl. Detroit next year has the 5th best odds to go into the Super Bowl. Yeah, it hurts, but I'll take that any day of the week over being irrelevant. And I'll stick behind Dan Campbell as my head coach for the Detroit Lions. He's got them on the right track. Ben Johnson's not going anywhere. He wants to finish what he started. You talk about us coming back to finish what we started here on 12-ounce sports with the Captain Lou Extravaganza. Ben Johnson said no thank you to the Commanders, which I don't blame him at all. He wants to finish what he started in Detroit, and I think they've got a pretty good start as far as that goes. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to take a quick look at San Francisco, an early look at the Super Bowl matchup against Kansas City. We'll talk a little bit about Baltimore, too, and the egg that they laid. So don't go anywhere. You're watching the Captain Lou Extravaganza. It's live here on 12-Ounce Sports and the Captain Lou Sports Network on YouTube. We'll be right back.
Yeah.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Captain Lou Extravaganza. We are live here on 12ouncesports.com and, of course, the Captain Lou Sports Network on YouTube. We're on the 12-Ounce YouTube channel. We're on everywhere. We're on Twitter. We're on Facebook, Twitch, you name it. The Captain Lou Extravaganza is everywhere, and we are excited to be back on 12-ounce sports, back where we belong, and just excited for what's to come here this spring and this summer here on 12-ounce sports. We got a lot going on with this, and of course, the ACHA Power Play on Tuesday nights at 7 o'clock as the road to St. Louis and the national championships, which are 5 weeks from tomorrow already. Make sure you check that show out on Tuesday nights as well. We're talking about the Lions in San Francisco, the NFC Championship game. We'll wrap up our talk on that. And I want to say Brock Purdy is really starting to establish himself as a big-time quarterback and a big-moment quarterback. First, it was against Green Bay on that final drive. He looked a little bit rattled, and I know he can be rattled a little bit on that drive with the Super Bowl or with the, if you get pressure on him, but it's like any other quarterback. You put heat on him, and indeed, that's what's going to happen. You're going to get, you're going to make mistakes. But boy, oh boy, when the pressure was on in the second half, when they called on him and they needed him for the second week in a row in the playoffs, Brock Purdy is proving that he's no fluke. And some of those runs, he was mobile. Again, Detroit, along with a lot of other teams, their defenses get stymied with mobile quarterbacks. They had him pinned in, but he found a way out of it. A couple of those throws, that one throw to Jennings, I think it was, where he threw off balance and he had to climb the ladder for. How incredible was that? And so then you've got that. But Brock Purdy shined in the second half in the fourth quarter. Really, really impressed me. Now, if San Francisco thinks that they can withstand another slow start in the Super Bowl against Kansas City, I don't know about that because they get down 17. Kansas City's got a quarterback by the name of Patrick Mahomes, and I think he can make plays too. Jared Goff's a good quarterback, but obviously he's not in Patrick Mahomes' league. He's one of the best there is. But obviously San Francisco cannot withstand another slow start. So, but it wasn't just Brock Purdy. And again, I want to give him his just due because indeed he, to me, is proving to be another big time or big moment quarterback as with all those big plays that he helped made and the drives that he engineered. But Christian McCaffrey showed why he should be, if not the front runner for the MVP, right up there with Lamar Jackson. All that guy does is produce all year long. Now, I know they don't give MVPs for playoffs. Playoffs aren't supposed to be taken in consideration. Now, I like Lamar Jackson. I think he had a great year in the regular season. But boy, Christian McCaffrey, when they need, he's one of these guys. It seems like once he takes a little while to get warmed up, the guy's unstoppable. And I really liked what Kansas City or what San Francisco did with him, running him on the outside, getting him out in the open. And boy, once he gets going, he is so hard to take down. Those swing passes, the pitches, whatever. Once he gets through the first wave, watch out. And he proved it there. And the guy's a winner. And it's going to be such a great matchup with Kansas City and San Francisco. My heart aches, like I said, that Detroit's not there. But I think it really is going to be a great matchup for between San Francisco and Kansas City. Real quick, we'll go over and talk about the AFC Championship game with Kansas City and Baltimore. And obviously, the first question, what happened to Lamar Jackson? Was it his fault? Did you try to, become it was almost, it looked like to me a little bit that he was handcuffed, maybe by the play calling. Can you put all the blame on Lamar Jackson? They only getting 7 points. Is Kansas City's defense that underrated? There's so many things to think about. Baltimore had their opportunities. Even though they were only down 10, they were down 10 going into the fourth quarter. That long pass to Zay Flowers. And come on. He got the taunting penalty. Okay. Then he had a chance to redeem himself and he fumbled on the goal line. But that's just kind of the way it went for Baltimore. That game was chippy. And, I'm not going to blame the referees for that, for Baltimore's loss. But I got to tell you, Baltimore, they bit. Baltimore bit for all the taunting that Kansas City did to them. Travis Kelce to me, I got nothing against him and Taylor Swift. I really don't. Okay. I think, who cares? I don't want to see Taylor Swift after every first down, but, her and Travis Kelce, whatever. God bless them. They're happy. They're in love, whatever. But I got to tell you, what the act that I think is getting old, is how much taunting he gets away with and some of the bravado that Kansas City gets away with. They goaded Baltimore into some of those personal foul penalties and some of those tauntings. And congratulations to Kansas City for doing it. That's the new NFL. Everybody's chirping. Everybody's doing this and that. It's a me. I get it. But Baltimore shouldn't have fell for that. Travis Kelce's one of those. He barks after every play, and that act is getting old. And that's kind of why I wanted Baltimore to win. I know they're barkers too, but Zay Flowers, what the hell were you thinking with that taunting? And that, it's just like CJG said, CJ Gardner Johnson for the Lions. That guy's on there barking on the sidelines and taunting and get, a lot of good it did in San Francisco. But Baltimore, they fell for it and it cost them. But getting back to Lamar Jackson, this one's going to haunt him for a while as well, too. He didn't play one of his greatest games. They didn't utilize his legs. He should have been running straight ahead. Some of those plays on 3rd and 1 they were calling, they have him in the shotgun and he's dancing back there looking for somebody to get open. I don't understand that. I didn't understand the play calling on that. So now we've got Kansas City and San Francisco. So, and then again, it goes back, it leads to the question. Is Patrick Mahomes one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time? Is he up there with the likes of Tom Brady or some of the other quarterbacks, Joe Montana, whatever? This is their 4th appearance in a Super Bowl in 5 years. He could win his 3rd Super Bowl. I mean, you tell me. He's getting up there. He wins. That's 3. You got Terry Bradshaw, Joe Montana, Tom Brady. Obviously, he's got a ways to go to catch his 7 rings or whatever it is he's got. But this it starts to beg the question: is he up there? To me, he's already a Hall of Famer. The guy's, he's a winner. Now he's won 2 games on the road. They never had to go on the road in the playoffs. He's done that. Now he's in the Super Bowl again. Like I mentioned, 4 times in 5 years. All he does is win. Big moments, whatever. So now they're on the grandest stage of them all against San Francisco. So again, what do they do with that? Is he one of the greatest of all time? My answer is yes. He's up there with the likes of Terry Bradshaw. Winning quarterbacks in the Super Bowl, Joe Montana. He's got a ways to go to get to Tom Brady, but he's made a lot of plays. He and Andy Reid, a great combination together. That's for sure. So, and, as Kevin Wilson says, thanks, Kevin, for watching us here tonight. Mahomes is indeed one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. He's right there, boy. I tell you, it's darn close. I can't not say that he isn't. So, he brings it. And he did against Baltimore. Those were 2 good defenses, really good defenses, and I think Kansas City's defense is underrated. And it showed this weekend. They put the clamps down on Baltimore. Their game plan was great. And so, it's going to be fun to see the matchup with Kansas City, with San Francisco. As I mentioned earlier in the first segment, can San Francisco withstand another slow start like they had against Green Bay and Detroit? I don't think so, because they're not playing a defense for 60 minutes like Kansas City's. Detroit punched them in the mouth in the first half, but boy, when they made the adjustments, that being San Francisco, Detroit had no answer for it. And that's on Aaron Glenn. Although he did try to blitz, and Detroit couldn't wrap him up, but I guarantee you, Kansas City will not be like that. So That's going to be one of the matchups that I'm looking forward to seeing. And, that's one of my key matchups right there is going to be how does San Francisco handle adversity with Kansas City's defense? Now, again, we can go back to some of the fluke plays in the Detroit game, but you're going to get those. And good teams respond to that. Detroit didn't. Was the moment too much for the Lions? I don't know. It kind of looked like it was, didn't it? But, that's going to be the fun to make. That's going to be the fun to another key for Super Bowl 58. Now, next Wednesday, we're really going to go in depth with the matchups on both sides of the ball for Kansas City and for San Francisco. We'll have some guests on the show to talk about the game. But just the early matchups, again, Brock Purdy, what is he going to do against one of the better defenses in the league? Can Patrick Mahomes, are they going to be too one-dimensional against San Francisco? I think Isaiah Pacheco could have a great game against that defense. But will Kansas City stay with Pacheco? Will they lean on it? How is San Francisco's defense going to stop Travis Kelce? Obviously he was targeted 10 times in the first half against Baltimore, and they didn't have an answer for him. And on the other side of the ball, can Kansas City's defense stop Christian McCaffrey? Can they stop Kittle? That was the one thing that I mentioned that I thought Detroit was going to have a hard time doing, and that would be immobilizing George Kittle, and they really kind of did, or they just didn't go to them because all their other weapons with Ayuk and Debo and McCaffrey, they were all a lot more effective. In fact, that was the only prop bet from Sunday that I didn't get right, and that was the over-under on yards for Kittle. I think it was 53, and he got underneath that. All the other three that I got, and for those of you that rode along with those, that being Montgomery over 53.5 combined yards rushing and receiving, bingo for Detroit. Odell Beckham, 20 yards over, bingo, cha-ching. And, of course, the most dramatic one, Marquez Valdes-Scantling getting over 16.5 yards receiving. He got that on that last pass, that long bomb on third down. Made me a lot of money. And I know a couple of friends, Kenny, I know you, got you well in a hurry. So, but anyways, getting back to that, what is good at those that my first big key is going to be Isaiah Pacheco, and can San Francisco stop him and make Kansas City more one-dimensional? So that's my big key of the game. But like I said, next week we'll have the prop bets that you want to look for with Kansas City and San Francisco, the big keys to the matchups, the over-unders, you name it, coin flip, whatever you want to talk about. And we're going to have all of those prop bets and all of that. We're going to break it down big time next week with Super Bowl 58. With this bye week, those are just kind of the early matchups that I'm looking at. And so it's going to be a fun game. And my question to the Lions fans, how many of you are going to watch the game? It's going to be difficult for me only from one standpoint. My bedtime or my wake-up call for work on Mondays is about 3:45 in the morning. So going to bed at 10 o'clock makes it kind of rough for me to work on 5.5 hours sleep. We'll see how good the game is. If it's a blowout at halftime, I'm done. Sayonara. I'll tape it and watch the rest of it on Monday. Obviously, if Detroit was in it, I'd be watching the whole thing. But, it's still going to be a great matchup. So looking forward to Super Bowl 58. So when we go to the break, the teams that lost are Detroit Lions and Baltimore. Where do we go from here? What does Detroit initially, what do you think they're going to look for? I can tell you right now what it is. It's defense. Somehow go into the defense, try to get some defensive back help, safeties, whatever. The one thing that Detroit's got going for them is they've got $61 million in cap space coming up this coming year. Now, we got to resign some players. Penei Sewell's coming up. And, of course, the $1 million question with Detroit. Do you extend Jared Goff? What are you looking at for a contract? Are you going to pay him 5 years? Did he play well enough to get, 3 or 4 year extension? That's where the route I would go. I'd extend him for 3 years, maybe 40 per if he'll take it. I know he's loved in Detroit, and I know he likes it there, but there's going to be some feelers out there. That's going to be the $1 million question we're going to talk about all off season. What and should they extend Jared Goff for? I mean, are they going to let him go this year and then franchise tag him? I don't know, but we're going to dive into that obviously through the year. And of course, getting back to what should Baltimore do? Boy, I don't know there. They're a strong team. They're going to be back. Obviously, they've got a franchise quarterback, more than likely the MVP. But we'll see from there. They've got some big questions on the offensive side of the ball. A consistent running game, maybe. I don't know, but there's going to be some big questions in Baltimore as well. All right, when we take a break, we're going to take one more break. When we come back, we're going to switch gears. There's a big milestone victory here in the state of Michigan last night on the hardwood. We'll talk about that, and we'll take a quick look at the Red Wings as they do battle tonight with Ottawa. Puck drop here shortly. You're watching the Captain Lou Extravaganza. It's live here on 12 Ounce Sports and the Captain Lou Sports Network on YouTube.
Yeah.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Captain Lou Extravaganza. We're live here on 12ouncesports.com and, of course, the Captain Lou Sports Network on YouTube. You can follow us on X at Real Captain Lou and, of course, 12 Ounce Sports. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel at 12 Ounce Sports and the Captain Lou Sports Network. All kinds of social media outlets. We're on Twitch. We're on Facebook. We're Twitter Live. You name it. Instagram. We're all over the place. And then we're ecstatic to be back here on 12 Ounce Sports, and really looking forward to what's to come here on the 12 Ounce Sports Network. Before we talk about our next topic, which is, of course, a milestone victory, I want to tell you a little bit about JaviCoffee.com. Do you like instant coffee? Do you like coffee in general? You maybe if you're an instant coffee fan, you only got time for one cup or whatever. I invite you to check out JaviCoffee.com. It's simple. It's easy to use. You don't have the mess of coffee grounds or anything. 1 or 2 teaspoons or whatever is your preference. Hot or cold. You can have regular, decaf, salted caramel, French vanilla, which is my favorite. It's really, really good, by the way. And it's super easy to use. Go to JaviCoffee.com. And when you're there, when you get to checkout, use the promo code Captain Lou, all one word, and you get 15% off of your purchase. It's that simple. And it does work, and it's very, very good. And again, that's JaviCoffee.com, one of our longtime sponsors of the Captain Lou Extravaganza. And we're excited to have them with us again in 2024. One more time, real quick, let's go back to Kevin again. Thanks for joining us, as always, watching here on the show. And he's right. Baltimore needs to figure out who's running that defense. And, again, their defense didn't play that bad against Kansas City. But yeah, that's a great point, Kevin. I 100% agree with you on that. So again, thanks for joining us on that. You can comment as well here on the Captain Lou Extravaganza anytime throughout our show. We invite you to do that also on Twitter or Facebook, as well as watching it on YouTube. All right, let's go. We talked about a milestone win last night in East Lansing, Michigan State, Michigan, a rivalry renewed on the hardwood. Michigan State came in a 12.5-point favorite, I believe, or 12-point favorite. And Tom Izzo was at win number 699. And ironically enough, it was his 69th birthday yesterday. Michigan came out, I think they shot 80% the first 12 minutes or some ungodly percentage. And Michigan State hung in there. And, you could tell the tide was starting to turn during the end of the first half. Michigan was up, I think, 4 at halftime or 3 at halftime. And that was probably the worst thing that could happen to Michigan. I know it sounds crazy. They were better off probably being down by a bucket or by 3 going into halftime. Because I guarantee you, Tom Izzo went into that locker room and put on one of his all-time rants, and probably justifiably so. I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall in that locker room at halftime, because Michigan State came out and they just obliterated Michigan. 81-62, the final score. Tom Izzo gets win number 700. He's a great coach. You know me. You can see by by my background here. Look at all the Michigan stuff I've got. I'm a Michigan fan, but you see the one thing I've got over there, the Tom Izzo jersey, and I recognize greatness. Tom is he's a great guy. He's a great coach. He's a Yooper like I am. For those of you that may not know what a Yooper is, he's from the Upper Peninsula, just like I am. I watched him in high school, watched him at Northern Michigan. The guy is, he's a great human being off the court, obviously on the court as well, and a well-deserved honor getting win number 700 as the Spartans with a big win last night over Michigan, and 81-62 was the final score, and a big win at home, one that they needed. Now, here's my next question. I was looking at some of the projections, bracketology or whatever. What is it, 26 years? They're going for 26 straight years to make the big dance, or 25, some ungodly number like that. I want to say 26. I don't want to shortchange Michigan State. All kidding aside, I love the rivalry, and I love kidding Michigan State fans or whatever. But you talk about a dynasty, you talk about dominance. How many Final Fours has Tom Izzo been to? It's been a while, but he's there. What chance do you give them in the big dance in March? I think they're projected an 8 or a 9 seed, depending on what I was looking at. I think one matchup had them playing Utah in the opening round as a 9 seed. Now, we all know what Michigan State does. They load up their schedule every year with just an incredible non-conference schedule. The likes of Duke and Kansas and Texas and Baylor and whoever else, Gonzaga, whatever. And it hardens them for the run. And, their record may not show it. Now, they've had a kind of a rough go in the Big Ten to start out, but now they're kind of finding their sea legs. And I like watching and reading some of the social media on Michigan State. Every year the fans get nervous. They're like, we're not going to make it. We're not going to make it. And they're always there. Now, is this one of Tom's better teams? No, of course not. Obviously, the record states that. But they're going to be ready come March. And I have no doubt that Michigan State's going to the big dance. No doubt in my mind. They've got a few tough games left. They've got an interesting one Saturday against Maryland at home. Maryland's a pesky team, but this is a game that they have to have, and I think they're going to show up and they're going to win that one. And they've got, like I said, a couple of tough ones. I don't think they're in any danger yet. They may have to win a game in the Big Ten tournament, but I doubt it. I think even if they don't, they're in. Are they as good as the likes of Purdue and Wisconsin? I don't think so. But hey, once you get into the big dance, you never know. You can get on a roll. They're going to get. They got to get some play out of their big guys underneath. They got to get some kind of play out of there, and that's really their deficiency, in my opinion. But it's they'll be there in the end. There's no doubt about it. And I'll tell you what. Now I know what it's like to be a Michigan State football fan last year, the way that they got decimated by Michigan. What the holy hell is going on with Michigan basketball? And I'm not taking anything away from Michigan State last night. They caused that win. They caused the big loss for Michigan. But boy, oh boy, I'd like to say the mighty have fallen, but I can't even call them that. I don't know what's going on there. I think Juwan Howard has lost control. He should have been let go after last year. Why Ward Manuel still has him there as a coach coming into this year, I don't know. And, you hear reports where he may not let Juwan Howard go after this year. I mean, this is embarrassing. This is one of the worst Michigan teams I've seen in a long, long time. I mean, they're not even going to get to 500. They may have 20 losses this year or more. How embarrassing is that? That's crazy. I don't see any help in sight. MSU's going to go down there. They're going to win at Chrysler. I have no doubt about it. They've got a point guard that can't play road games. I mean, come on. That's crazy. They're horrible. It's absolutely horrible. And, I boycotted. I'll be honest with you. Juwan Howard, the clown show that he's put on over the last couple of years, what the stuff he does on the court after a game and pushing coaches and whoever knows what else is going on behind the scenes. You hear the rumors, but yet Ward Manuel just sits there and lets him, get away with this stuff. And it's a mess, man. It's a clown show and it's embarrassing. So now I know what it's like to have been a Michigan State football fan last year, the crap that they had to endure with Mel and then all the other distractions and, the beatdown that some of the teams gave them, because this is embarrassing. I don't see it getting better anytime soon with Michigan, and they're handcuffed with the NIL money, but that's not an excuse for Juwan Howard. It's time for a change. Michigan needs to do something. It's bad. Very, very bad. Want to say hi to Devin Seraf's watching us. Hey, Devin. Those aren't boos. Those are loos. I like that. Devin's going to be on the broadcast, part of the broadcast coverage for the ACHA National Tournament coming up in about 5 weeks down in St. Louis. Want to say hi to Devin and thank him for watching here tonight as well. So, again, another edition of the ACHA Power Play will be next Tuesday night. Make sure you check that out. 7 o'clock here on 12 Ounce Sports. And, of course, the Captain Lou Sports Network on YouTube. Want to close tonight by talking about our Detroit Red Wings. There's, again, a potpourri of Detroit sports and whatnot, the big game next week. But the Red Wings off to a fantastic start in 2024. Had a rough go of it in December. Now they're getting healthy a little bit. And, of course, Patrick Kane coming back. There was a question whether he was going to play tonight or not. After this, they go into the All-Star break. Right now, Detroit is sitting pretty good. If the season were to end tonight, they would have gotten the last playoff spot. Now, I know there's teams with games in hand and whatnot. I think Pittsburgh's got 3 games in hand on Detroit, with Detroit 6 points ahead. But Detroit also has a game in hand on Tampa or Toronto, one or the other, where if they win, they would tie them for the 3rd spot. They would leap. Obviously, the teams don't have the same amount of games, but there's like 24, 25 games left after tonight, something like that, as they go into the All-Star weekend. But Detroit's looking good. They're getting solid goaltending, and the scoring punch is there. And it's great to see. I love watching Patrick Kane. He's been as advertised. Detroit got a heck of a price for him. But they got a big game tonight against Ottawa. Ottawa, we all know what happened to Dylan Larkin over there, the cheap shot that he took, and the retaliation penalty that Detroit had to put up with afterwards. And so this is a big game. Ottawa's had Detroit's number. So this would be a big win for the Red Wings tonight against Ottawa. Coming up after the break, after the All-Star break, they've got Vancouver, then they at home, then they go on a West Coast swing with, again, Vancouver. Edmonton, who's won, 16 straight. Calgary's always a tough win. This is the big game tonight. Detroit could really use these 2 points going into the break, because after that, they've got, a tough stretch, a 4 or 5 game stretch. Those are going to be some big games. The points are starting to get crucial for the Detroit Red Wings. But it's fun to talk about Detroit being relevant. They're getting closer. The Yzer plan is getting them closer. One of the questions, the big question is, can their goaltending carry them? Lions playing great. They're going to get Husso back probably after the All-Star break. He's had a couple of he had one conditioning start with the Griffins, and I think he got a shutout. So can they keep it up? So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with the Red Wings. The goaltending is going to be key. Obviously, it's a key with anybody. Anybody in any, when you make a run for the NHL playoffs. So, that's going to be the big question. The defensive play is getting better, and they've got the scoring power, with Dylan Larkin, Lucas Raymond leading the team in assists. And of course, Patrick Kane off to a good start, just to name a few. You got Mo Sider on the back end. It's an exciting time. And, you watch some of these Grand Rapids Griffins games, and they got a lot of young talent coming up. It's a good time to be a Red Wings fan. And this will be great if they can maintain this push to get into the playoffs and get a little bit of a playoff experience. It's been a long time for the Red Wings in the, as far as going to the playoffs. I think it's 8 years now? So they're due. So it'd be great to see the winged wheel in the playoffs. So, all right. Hey, that's going to do it tonight. We're going to call it a night here on the Captain Lou Extravaganza. We want to thank everybody that's taken time out to check us out for a few minutes or so here on the show. We're going to be back next Wednesday, 7 o'clock Eastern time here on 12 Ounce Sports and the Captain Lou Sports Network on YouTube to, again, with another edition of the Captain Lou Extravaganza. We're going to dive into the big matchup, the big game, Super Bowl 58. We'll give you another update on the Red Wings as the All-Star break, again, will be coming up real soon. We'll dive more into what's going on in the world of professional football off the field. Still one coaching spot available. Mike McDonald took the head job in Seattle a little earlier today, so now it's just the Commanders left. Will Aaron Glenn get that job? By next week, I'm sure we'll find out. So a lot to talk about there. Again, thanks to everybody for showing up here tonight, checking us out, and can't wait to be back for another show. One more time, I want to thank Jeff Beck and everybody at 12 Ounce Sports. It's great to be back on the network. We got a lot of exciting things to come up this year. Really looking forward to that. And it's going to be a fun ride. For the best in live content and sports, make sure you check out 12 Ounce Sports. All right, everybody, that's going to do it. Again, Captain Lou saying, keep your heads up, keep your sticks down, keep your feet moving, but more importantly, keep your mind open. We'll see you next week. And don't forget, join us each the next couple of days, Friday and Saturday. Friday at 5 o'clock. Forgot to mention, we'll have another extravagant few minutes short, and then on Saturday and Sunday as well. So join us for those. A little bit of, we like to do a little 5 to 7 minute snippet on what may be going on in the world of sports that day. So make sure you check that out as well on all of our Captain Lou platforms, Twitter, Facebook, you name it. We'll have it for you right there. All right. One more time again, keep your heads up, keep your sticks down, keep your feet moving. And as always, keep your minds open. Until next time, Captain Lou saying so long. And thanks for joining us on the Captain Lou Extravaganza here on the Captain Lou Sports Network and 12 Ounce Sports. So long.